Get ready. It's time for the Sports Exchange. Talk, interviews, opinions, and a lot more. Sports from around the globe. It's time with Scott Morganworth and Peter Wein.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Madmouth, in the house with Peter Wein and Samuel Kaye. And, well, guys, we got ourselves a great show today, don't we?
You were listening to the
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, it's been a show I've waited a long, long time for. And our featured guest here this afternoon is going to be my childhood idol, Mickey Lolich, the MVP of the 1968 World Series. But before we get into a lot of those...
Who did they beat in the World Series?
St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cards.
And Mr. Lolich, although don't never call him that on the air, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Won 3 games and hit a home run in game 2 of that series, and they were 3 complete games. So Mickey, why he's not in the Hall of Fame is anybody's guess. But before we go into the agenda this afternoon,
Are we allowed to ask him his opinion?
Of what?
Why he's not in the Hall of Fame?
Well, that was one of the things I planned to talk to him about.
Okay.
That's going to be a good question.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll have an answer for that and a whole lot more. But before we go into today's agenda, there has been a change in the schedule for this Thursday. The Sports Exchange will not, and I repeat, will not be covering the Gator Nationals. Instead, I got a very good opportunity to cover the Sebring 12 hours right up the road in Sebring, Florida. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to doing a
Very
remote
cool.
there. Oh,
Very
yeah.
Cool.
My wife's friend over at Chase Bank, Fallon Dard, told me that, Scott, that's a heck of an event that you're going to go to.
Yeah.
And then,
That's big. That's like in golf, it would be one of the 4 majors.
right. And there's no question.
Right. I'm glad I could hook you up with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. Not. Okay. I got connections all over the globe, as you call it, in your network. But yeah, Ken Breslauer and I talked about it. And, we're working on trying to find guests he'll be on. It's one of those kind of things where you try to find people, in the paddock and the area, the media center. And the goal is to make sure we have a very energetic couple of hours, and that's what I'm going to be. So a lot of you folks that were thinking about Gator Nationals, Gator Nationals has been is no longer on the agenda for Thursday, and the Sebring 12-hour race is going to be an incredible event, and I'm looking forward to bringing you live coverage of that event on Thursday. So myself and Ken Breslauer will be there. Great guest last Tuesday, wasn't he? He gave us a good overview, a lot of good drivers. If you're looking for...
I'm interested to get your take on the course being part cement and part not cement.
Right. Well, I'll give you that take when I get up there and see it firsthand. All I know is I had a chance to drive by it a while back with my wife, Candy, and, we had a chance to look at it, but until I got serious into this project, I'll be spending an awful lot of time there come Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But before I get to Sebring, on my agenda tomorrow, I will be going to downtown Miami, where the Detroit Pistons will take on the Miami Heat with the American Airlines Arena.
That should be a great game.
A real good game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, the Pistons are fighting for a playoff spot.
So are the Heat.
Yeah, and Dwayne Wade, this is final year, so
Right.
I've seen the Pistons and the Heat in a lot of good games out there.
So when Dwayne Wade is done after the game, does he go to his restaurant, or does he go down the block to Stephen Curry's wife's restaurant?
Don't know. I'll be in the Pistons locker room.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go to his restaurant
You
or
think?
home to his family.
I think so.
I'll be in the Pistons locker room. So whatever it is, it is. So, and we'll have a lot of good interviews from that, and a lot of the spring training that I'll be covering over the next couple of weeks as well. So,
Right. And the 21st, we've got Jonathan Mayo from Major League Baseball calling in, talking about he's been covering not the Grapefruit League. He's been out on the West Coast this spring training, but he'll be talking about the opening of baseball.
Well, it's funny. I had an opportunity to go ahead and cover the Cactus League last year. And you know what? To be able to hit 8 out of 10 stadiums was unbelievable inside of 45 minutes.
Right.
So when you think about 8,
Close to each other.
Yeah, they are. And then
Duh.
well, but meanwhile, not past Sunday, but the one before, we're in Tampa, okay,
Yeah,
and
okay.
it's 4 hours away. So I'm thinking, my goodness, you covered an awful lot of ground in Arizona, not in spring training in 4 hours,
Yeah,
but when you're driving the Grapefruit League circuit versus the
yeah,
Cactus League,
yeah.
the travel situation, hotel things are a
Right.
huge factor for sure.
Right. Without a doubt.
Right. So Jack Stern will be the only guest on the program that won't be talking baseball. He'll get into some NCAA tournament information. Otherwise, the rest of our guests there is a baseball theme to it. Rick Curdy's going to talk about robot umpires that he wrote for the South Florida Tribune. And of course, I had a chance to catch up with Louis Avalon after the Mets game last week against the
Right.
Marlins up in
Right.
St. Lucie. And then, of course, Mickey at the top of the hour. So, we're all over the diamond except for the little periodic thing that we're going to be on a hard court.
Right.
So what do you think, Sam? You looking forward to this?
Oh
one?
yeah, I'm really looking forward to Mickey Lolich. I was not here to watch him play the game, but I've only heard how great he
YouTube.
was.
YouTube.
Right, YouTube. I've seen some things on YouTube,
Yeah.
but I never saw anything live. But I know that this guy really has made his mark
Yeah.
on the MLB.
Well, you know what? I wasn't from Detroit. I was a Yankee fan, New York fan. But Mickey Lolich was definitely one of the premier pitchers in that era. You know, the 60s and 70s.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to hear what he has to say.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting to hear. I guess he's going to be talking about his book, I would assume.
Oh yeah.
Which talks about the 68 World Series or more than.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and we're going to get into that. And they had a good book signing over on Sunday when the Tigers played the Yankees.
Yeah.
And this guy, they sold 151 books.
Yeah, all
That was
right.
pretty good. I'm going to mention that to him. Mickey and I, in a short time.
And the only reason he sold 151 books is that people listening to the Sports Exchange knew he was going to be there.
Well, that's it, man. I got news for you. He's Mickey's a pretty down to earth guy.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, he is very level headed. And yesterday I had an opportunity to spend time with my great friend Tom Gage, who's the author of the book Joy in Tigertown.
Right.
We connected up at Indian Rocks Beach as well. So Indian Rocks Beach, I had been there since 1985 when Hurricane Elena smacked.
It's been longer for me.
Has it?
Yeah, I've never been there.
All right. Well, like I said,
Yeah,
it's been
same
longer.
here.
Yeah. Well,
Never been.
but
You have pictures?
oh yeah, only if Tom Gage and I
No,
were
not
at
the
restaurant.
beach.
No, I didn't care about the beach.
Oh, man.
I was up there on business.
Come on.
No, I didn't. I was in and out of there faster than you can snap your fingers. So.
Oh, okay.
But enough to take care of business and then
Yeah.
continue my track back into Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's good stuff. I'm looking forward to this. I know that we've been working very, very hard to go ahead and bring them on the program if everything goes according to plan, which it should. Mickey will be on our air and we'll touch on some key subjects as well. But you know what? I am once again looking forward to the Sebring race. I think that's going to be a fun time. And I was telling my friend Trevor Thompson, who's a president of Detroit Sports Media, on Sunday when the Red Wings took on the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
And what a laugher that was. The Panthers won 6-1. And Trevor really never realized that I was big into motorsports, but I love motorsports. I really do. So I think the situation with Sebring will hopefully by the end of the week present opportunities to get some pretty good drivers as well as capture the scene for what's about to take place. But Trevor never realized that. When you're Detroit guys, everybody's talking about the four major sports. But very few people realize that motorsports in the Metro Detroit area go to the Michigan International Speedway where they had a couple of NASCAR events. They used to have an open wheel race in July.
Right.
And of course, they have the Detroit Grand Prix there as well. So, Motor City. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of motorsports activity, especially during the summertime. So,
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
so take my word for it. Glad to know.
All right.
So, so how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. It was one of my friend's birthdays on Friday. We went out, had a nice dinner, and then on Saturday spent some time with my family. I'm really looking forward to this weekend because my father's getting married.
Wow.
So
Cool.
so we're going to New York
Party
for that.
time.
Oh, party time! Oh yeah, small wedding, just really the family, but really looking forward to it.
A bottle per person.
Hopefully. No, yeah, but it'll be a fun time. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's good. Congratulate him for it.
Thank you. I will.
Congratulations.
I will.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, for me, the month of March is absolutely crazy between auto racing, where my activities there, spring training. I love this time of the year. I do spring training.
Well, it's good. I mean, part of me is envious that you can get out and hit all the parks.
Right.
The other part of me is like, you know what? I did stuff like that 20 years ago. I'm over it. But no, I like the fact, especially, coming from New York, everything's big. Doesn't matter. It could be a museum, government, baseball, needless to say. When I first got exposed to minor league parks, it was like, this is great. I love it. I love it. You can take it away. I'll get
Well, there are a lot of great minor league parks, without a doubt. So,
but speaking of minor league, can you just talk to me about Tim Tebow real quick?
Yeah.
What is Tim Tebow going to go to the league?
Tim Tebow actually has been assigned to AAA today.
Right. So he's only moving his way up.
Yeah, he's headed in the right direction. So, good questions. Tim Tebow, I had a chance to see him actually on Friday and taking his cuts, but he's a baseball prospect.
Right.
All he is.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. So, and he's very protected by the New York Mets PR people as well. But
we've got journalist
Jack Stern. So
Jack Stern on the line.
Oh, welcome to. You're the only guy that'll be talking hoops, Jack, on this baseball program, but that's okay. We'll let you go ahead and not burst your bubble, but talk about who is on the NCAA tournament bubble. Jack, take it away.
How you guys doing? Thank you for having me, Peter, Scott, and Sam. I'm surprised I'm the only one coming on talking about college basketball. Has it
Go Gonzaga. Go Gonzaga.
All right. First, before I get into the meat and potatoes of things, how has it decreased in popularity so much? Every time I turn on the TV, any type of sports programming, seems like everyone's talking more about NFL free agency or a bunch of guys in single A playing a spring training game than college basketball.
Yeah, but you know what? If you put on any sports network, especially regional sports networks, I've got, 5, 6 of them here? 4 of them, not counting the Golf Channel. 4 of them, college basketball. It's all over TV.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
And you know what, Jack? I'm all over the state for spring training. So
but you're not into college basketball anyway. So
not as much, except when Mike Jarvis comes on the air.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are in March right now, and March is basically college basketball month, considering it is March Madness.
It starts what, the 19th, Jack?
Yeah, it starts on Sunday with Selection Sunday, where the brackets are made.
Right. Okay. Well, that's okay. I get into it to a certain extent, but I'm a big spring training guy.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the old-time journalist guy for me. Go ahead.
When daylight savings time happens every year, it means that it is time for March Madness. And every single time there's a couple of teams from the bottom half of the 25, or even these Florida Gulf Coast, or teams like that make a run in the NCAA tournament. And I was curious to get you guys' opinion on a couple teams that you thought could make a run if put in the bracket, that are maybe have flown under the radar a little bit, and then I was going to give my teams.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah. You might as well. You're the only one talking college basketball today.
I'm the one talking college basketball.
Well, let me preface this, Jack, because I don't want to cut your time. But whatever it was, 5, 8, 9, 10 years ago, when Gonzaga was the Cinderella team, I just love the name of the school, and I'm so happy. I don't know if they're still number 1 or number 2, but they always seem to come up a little short of where you're hoping they go. I'm hoping this is their year.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about college basketball, Jack, and I'm leaving the floor to you, I'm just a Big Ten guy. I hope one of my Big Ten schools wins it all. That's as far as I'm going to go.
All right, take it away, Jack.
Go ahead.
I'll start off by saying I think this is a particularly weak year for the Big Ten, aside from Michigan State. Indiana, one of the teams that's usually better, hasn't really performed well. Michigan, they're playing well, but they've had a couple of tough losses, so I don't think it's going to be a Big Ten team winning it this year. However, I think some under-the-radar teams have a good shot at winning it all. One of those teams is the Virginia Tech Hokies. They've beat both Duke and Syracuse, upset those two teams. They're currently ranked in the fifth in the ACC, which shows how tough the conference is. But I think they're built really well, and they have good depth on their starting team and on their bench, which makes them poised to make a run. Another team I think can do it is Villanova. They're currently getting no love, ranked 25th in the coaches poll and the AP top 25. I think once we get to March, we're going to see that veteran team take over. The Buffalo Bulls, a mid-major team led by C.J. Massenberg, who's top 5 in the nation in scoring, the big man down low. I think they're getting no love simply because Buffalo's pretty much like Siberia, let's face it.
Right.
That's why all the people from there move on down to Florida with you guys.
Right.
And then the last team, I think a Pac-12 team. The Pac-12 this year has been awful. I'm not going to lie. There's no team from the conference in the coaches or AP poll, which is quite frankly embarrassing considering they're a Power 5 team. But I think they're really good defensively. They're coached by Mike Hopkins, a former Jim Boeheim assistant at Syracuse. They're another veteran team, and they have a very different model for winning games, doing it on the defensive end of the floor. Most of the time when you see teams winning in March and into April, they're teams that score a lot of points, the Dukes, the Kentuckys. I think if Washington is able to win the Pac-12 tournament this week and make it to the NCAA tournament, they're almost guaranteed to make it to the Sweet 16 because of how different they play and because they have the best defensive player, in my opinion, in the entire country in Matisse Thybulle.
You know, it's funny. You talk about NBA, and the strength is the Western Conference. You talk about college, and the weakness is the Western teams.
All right, so you brought up the Buffalo Bulls. Okay, Jack. So you know what? Here's what I'm going to say about the Siberia Buffalo Bulls. Okay, if I need a Cinderella, let it come from the Buffalo Bulls because they're not getting much love in any other sports because the Buffalo Sabres haven't been good. The Buffalo Bills aren't very good. So we'll just go ahead and root for the Buffalo Bulls. Okay, you got a little bit more out of me than I was going to give you on college basketball. Go ahead. Good research.
Yeah.
And not only when your research is like this, Peter and I are still waiting for your columns to return to the South Florida Tribune because you do such a heck of a job.
All right, so FG's Florida Gulf Coast is in the NCAA, or they're vying for it?
I think there are some mid-major teams currently ranked lower on that could make it. I think Villanova is a team that's getting slept on a lot. Usually they're ranked in the top 5. But this time around, they're 25th in the country. If I had to make a bracket right now, I'd say they'd probably be the 10th or even lower, maybe the 11th seed coming out of the East. But, yeah, I think there's every year, listen, there's one of these FCS teams that comes out and beats a Power 5 team, which is pretty much why there's only 1 or 2 perfect brackets in the entire country. I mean, it's really become a science in that sense. But that segues perfectly into my next question, which is, why is the NCAA tournament such a crapshoot? I mean, when you look at Obama or any of these political figures making the bracket, they're just picking out the number 1 seeds or, the highest seeds, and somehow it's like a 4 or 5 seed. But pretty much never it's a number 1 seed against the number 1 seed. Obviously, Villanova was the 1 seed last year and they made it, but that's pretty rare. So why do you think the tournament is such a crapshoot, and why do you think there's so many upsets every single year? Even 2 or 3, in my opinion, is a lot.
Well, because every given team can win on any given day. I mean, I don't care all the. Here's the thing, Jack. When you don't have a lot of film on a lot of teams because they don't play in conferences, then coaches go ahead and take what little they can get, and then they prepare for you. It's not like you have a scouting report on these guys. You know what I mean? So therefore, they don't have any fear. Hey, you know what? We weren't expected to be here in the first place. So, we're on house money is really what it comes down to. So these guys tend to play loose. And when they play loose, the big majors are the ones that get nervous.
But, for the viewer, for the being a spectator, you always expect, 4 of the top 5 or 6 teams to keep moving on. But it's great when you get one of those Cinderellas, whether they make it to just the Sweet 16 or they make it to the 8 or the Final 4.
You root for them.
Yeah, you root for them. It's, the old underdog thing.
Right.
Well, not only
it doesn't happen often. I don't even know. I can't even remember when they made it to the final.
Well, every now and then an Ivy League school will pop up. I know this is way before a few you guys were born, but when Michigan State won it with Magic Johnson, the University of Pennsylvania ended up going all
Uh-huh.
the way to the Final Four. Then they got smoked by Michigan State Magic.
Okay, so
Johnson.
they didn't make it to the final.
No, but they got to the Final Four.
Yeah, well, I said the final. You don't
Yeah.
get the Cinderella team
but
in
that-
the final.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say that to Butler University, which has been there before. Butler's definitely been to the final.
Long time ago.
It's
Wow.
funny. It's funny when you fill out these brackets,
Yeah.
depending on who you're playing and the knowledge of the people
Yeah.
that you're competing against to who has
Yeah.
a better bracket. I mean, for me, who doesn't have the most knowledge in college basketball, I'm going for, one or two
Right.
underdogs in the first round. If I hit it, great. Looks like I'm ahead of my competition. But, once the whistle blows, regardless if you're a top team or you're not a top team, there's a chance for the underdog to win,
That's
regardless.
Well, it's tied at the beginning.
If I'm the underdog in any situation, I'm only going into the game thinking I'm going to take this team down.
I mean, everybody knows that the obvious upsets are going to be 3-14, 4 versus 12, and the beat goes
Well, but
on.
was it last year? Like 3/4 of the people got blown out the first weekend
right?
because there were so many upsets.
Right.
Who was one last year that lost to?
Well, Wichita State lost to Marshall, which was like a major upset.
Right.
That's not the one I'm thinking of. Maybe it
The
is.
biggest one
Maybe it is.
early.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, you got about 5 minutes, Jack. What else you want to talk about?
Well, Jack, I actually had a question for you. You graduated from the University of Colorado, right?
In about a month or so, yes.
Oh, so you're still there. So I graduated. I'm an alumni from the Buffaloes. So I actually have a question for you. Why can't the Buffaloes make the tournament? Why are we that bad?
I actually think they have a good shot at making it this year, Sam. That's an excellent question. They kind of struggled early on, but you have to keep in mind this is a really young team. Also, it's hard to recruit in the Pac-12 because you're up against Arizona and UCLA and schools that traditionally recruit very well. But
Right.
this is a down year for those schools. The Buffs almost made it into the top 4 in the Pac-12 tournament and got a first-round bye. And I think they have a good shot at winning it all this year, Sam. They have some of the best players in the conference. Tyler Bay, I think, is going to be a first-round pick next year. So, I mean, the reason that they've been consistently bad and they've struggled and, there's been a lot of upset fans here is because they have to recruit against some of the best schools in the nation. As, it's come to light recently, there's been some dirty recruiting tactics done by Sean Miller.
Yeah, I was just about
Andy
thinking
Enfield.
about him. You beat me to that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think it comes down to experience and ability to get top-notch talent. With that being said, I think fans should be happy with mediocrity. I mean, that's not something you hear a whole lot, but all things considered, I think that Tad Boyle, who's, by the way, the longest tenured head coach in the state of Colorado, so that shows he's doing something right, has done an excellent job juicing the most potential out of his team.
Well,
So I don't know, I just think it comes down to inexperience and inability to get top players, to be honest.
the reality is the Pac-12 hasn't been relevant in a long time. Okay, I mean, go ahead.
Aside from Arizona
And
Yes, I'll say
UCLA
that.
too, but yet UCLA
Yeah.
fires their coach. Okay, so nobody could go ahead and do well out there. I've had Chris Roberts, who will probably come on a future show, the longtime UCLA broadcaster, and guys get with 650, 700 winning percentages get fired. So you only have about.
Well,
3
how
minutes
hard
left to go,
is it?
Jack.
How hard is it to succeed for these coaches when you're coming off of a legendary program like UCLA? If in UCLA, if they're not a top-ranked team or in the finals, it's a failing
Well,
season.
it's only a failed season because of 2 words: John Wooden.
Well,
I mean,
well,
that's all
whatever
there
the
is.
reason, but I'm saying his, the people that followed him.
Right.
I mean, they've got a high bar to have to reach.
That's putting it lightly.
And with sports today, you don't come near that bar. Next.
Yeah, but the
And you have
pressure.
another thing to consider in this situation is that it's about team brand. You know what I mean? The Oregon Ducks weren't relevant until Marcus Mariota was the quarterback out in Eugene, and all of a sudden they become this popular team that kids like to play with on Madden or whatever the video game is for college football. And it's just the brand of these teams change over time, and a coach is brought in who establishes a certain culture, and that's another thing that contributes to it. So I think it really just comes down to that, and that's why there's so much changing of the guard in the Pac-12.
Well, with Oregon, all you got to do is say Nike, and then you don't have to say a whole lot more. They're dumping a lot of money into there anyways, and that'll be another subject for another day. But anyways, Jack, you and I eventually, when things calm down here with spring training and March Madness, are going to have a little bit of madness of our own, and that's what we still talk about Jordan and LeBron James. So I'm
Right.
Get ready to duke it out with me in the month of April, and I guarantee you, Jack, we're going to promote this one big time. The young end versus the old end. Okay, LeBron versus Michael. Okay, so be ready, Jack. I'm ready for you. But meanwhile, Jack, thanks for being the guy here that provides us with some of the March Madness. And if we have any more collegiate basketball people on the program soon, you might just get an opportunity to interact with those people because you're the only one talking about it anyways.
That sounds good to me, Scott. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, thanks again for being on the program,
All right,
Jack. We
Jack. You
appreciate
take it
you,
easy.
and we'll be in touch soon. Take care,
Take care,
buddy.
bud.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Well, Jack does bring up some interesting points, but yeah, we're out there with the Buffalo Rome. We'll say something about the Buffalo Bulls. And yeah, remember their football team wasn't too bad last year either.
Uh-huh.
So for a school in a decent sized city, between the Buffalo Bulls football program and basketball, they're getting some quality athletes to go there.
Yeah.
And speaking
But-
of Buffaloes, go Buffs.
There you
Go
go.
Buffs from Colorado, not Buffalo, but Colorado. But it's really funny what he said about the brand and the image of the school.
Right.
That's really, at the end of the day, what these schools care about. It's about their image. No matter how you slice it and dice it, it's just about how their image is and how they can build their brand.
I think though, dollars and cents, you think that plays into it
Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit.
a lot of it?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Okay.
We had a professor on the one of the shows earlier today from Penn State, and talking about obstacles and in life and all that. And it got to the point about sports, and she said she totally is aware of the importance of sports to a university as far as a revenue stream
Oh, yeah.
and a reputation. But she gets offended when she finds that there is a good percentage of athletes who really don't care about the education. Just get me to the combine or get me picked in a draft somewhere so I can become a professional athlete. She said, and that's taking a seat away from somebody who wants and needs the education.
And how lenient the teachers are. I'll tell you right now, when
Yeah.
I was at school, when I was a junior or a senior,
Yeah.
I'd be in classes with some of the athletes, and they wouldn't be putting in as much
You
work
weren't
as.
one of the athletes.
And no,
huh?
I wish I was one of the athletes, but no, I wasn't one of the
Well,
athletes.
You earned your degree.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was
Well,
funny. It was really funny how these athletes could get away with maybe not putting in the work that every other student was putting in because they're up here. Their level's up here, considering that they're the ones who are bringing in the revenue, the ticket
Right.
sales, the advertising, the TV, like everything.
I have a friend whose son plays locally from one of the local schools
Mhm.
on scholarship. The kid wanted to be a nurse. I forget what kind, a specialized nurse. They told him he's got the scholarship as long as that's not his major, because that will take him away from the game too much.
Well-
And he played 1 year, and he's quitting the team. He wasn't looking to go professional, and he said his life is more important than just playing.
Well, more power to him. All I know is when I was back at the University of South Florida, I had basketball players in a class called sports and sociology. So, it was an easy
Basket weaving,
yeah,
shuffleboard.
They would take some of the other class, but the
Yeah,
sports and
yeah.
sociology class, they didn't have to think a whole lot there. They kind of fit in with that one. So
Was that why you were there also?
I actually enjoyed it. It was one of the few sports classes I actually
But you didn't
took
have to
outside.
think too much.
I'll tell you what, being a communication guy like I was
Yeah.
back then, I enjoyed it because being in the industry, okay,
Right.
like we are, since we don't play inside the lines, we got to think outside the lines.
Right.
And I thought that was a pretty interesting class, and all you just see a bunch of the basketball players in there.
Right.
There's another story too. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And the fact that none of these students are getting paid,
Right.
Supposedly.
supposedly.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
I think it's funny though for the ones that are not getting paid illegally. They're the ones who are essentially bringing in the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Very. That's a whole different
Very
topic, but I just
interesting.
wanted to bring that up.
All right. Now Rick Curdy's going to be coming on in about a minute or two, so let's give an overview about what he's going to talk about. He's been talking to me about robot umpires, okay,
Uh-huh.
and now he's going to have an opportunity to elaborate.
They're
a
starting
little
that in the single A league, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
it is. So,
Yeah.
Rick does. He likes to write for the South Florida Tribune. He really does. And, I said, anything you want to put up there, go ahead and do it. And he comes up with some pretty interesting ideas of robot umpires. Now, that's a question we're not going to about Mickey Lolich because there's just way too much material to get to in a long time.
Now, does that have anything to do with the timers that are now like the shot clock for baseball with this robot umpire?
I don't know.
Is there any correlation?
I don't know. Are they using timer in the minor leagues, timing the pitches?
Yeah, I believe they are doing pitch clocks there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're going to get a lot of resistance at the major league level doing it. But the minor leagues, they can experiment with anything. So, but that said, Rick Curdy's about to join the South Florida Tribune hotline. Okay. And he will be talking about robot umpires. So, so just so you know, folks, the South Florida Tribune is a great source of information. If you want to check us out, www.southfloridatribune.com. So www.southfloridatribune.com. And you can check out all the nice quality content that we have. Some of our local schools that are involved with the South Florida Tribune consist of Lynn University and Florida Atlantic University as well. With that said, okay, Rick Curdy, let's talk about robot umpires. Okay, do they compute? Mr. Samuel Kaye was very curious about it. Go ahead and take it away there, Rick.
Well, the Atlantic League Professional Baseball has been around for 20 years, and they recently partnered up with Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball is experimenting with some little tweaks here and there with a runner on base, starting an inning, pitching clock, and robot umpires. And I meant robot umpires. And the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball, they're using it as a testing ground in that league. So I think it's weird. I don't really like it. I don't want to see a robot umpire. I like it when it's called by human beings. I know they make mistakes. I know the strike zone's is inconsistent sometimes and the games could drag on, but I just think it's really, really weird.
I remember years ago, Major League Baseball came out where they wanted to do away with the intentional walk. Not do away with it, but throwing the 4 pitches out of the strike zone.
Right.
They wanted to just say, okay, I'm walking him. And Casey Stengel, I believe, was so I'm going back to the 60s, was one of the very outspoken. I mean, he was a maniac to begin with, but very outspoken.
Right.
He says, you're taking chance out of the game.
Right.
The game is, not every pitch is the same. Not every ball rolls the same way. There could be a pass ball on an intentional walk and runners can score.
Right.
You're taking an aspect away from the game.
He's right, but they eventually did get rid of it.
Yeah, well.
But that's this day and age. But I agree. Listen, I'm like you, Peter. Okay, you and I can really say that we go back a ways covering this game. And there's so many things that they've taken out of it, unfortunately, that I wish they had in there. But the reality of the situation is, you know what? This is a different era where they're trying to speed things up. But
so my question, and maybe you know this, Rick, umpires in Major League Baseball. Are they full-time umpires, or are they like NFL referees that sell insurance and work games?
No, they're full-time. They got full-time jobs. This is a full-time job. That's what the NFL should do too.
So, well, definitely the NFL should do that. And I guess my attitude would be Major League Baseball should do ongoing education for the umpires and keep it human.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about human. The NFL officiating is atrocious. And Major League Baseball, they make mistakes. The umpires do a great job. I understand they want to speed up the game because, they're losing the young people.
Yeah.
The young people are too busy tweeting and on their cell phones, and everything is now. That's our society now. And people I don't think they have the patience to sit for a 3-hour or 3.5 or sometimes 4-hour game of baseball, and they're trying to appeal to the younger people, and the attendance is going down in the stadiums when they go. And I get why they're doing it. They want to be more consistent, and I just think it's still kind of weird. And I mean, can the managers argue with the computer if they don't like the call?
Well, that's the whole thing, and I would like to keep the human, bring in some sort of instant replay. Was it last year, right? Just bring in some instant replay. It's pretty much obvious if there was interference on the fence, if a fan reached out and stopped the outfielder from, leaping and catching the ball, instant replay can reverse a call or make a call.
Well, they have instant replay in baseball, and that was one of the. I remember when we're going to bring that in, and I mean, it's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think they only do it in playoffs, though, don't they? They don't do it during the regular season, do they? Instant recall, replay.
Well, no,
Yeah,
right.
They do it in regular season.
Well, yeah, they got replay in regular
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Rick, for the fans that don't know exactly what robotic umpiring is, can you kind of go through the process or kind of go through what it means when there's a robot umpire? Like, is there a robotic umpire sitting behind the batter on the back of the plate? Is there just a computer up on
Or
taking
just a
stats, or
just
is it
a mannequin?
right? What is a robot umpire?
Well, what
question.
I've been hearing about it is that it's just a computer. It's not really like it's not going to be like RoboCop up there, and pads,
I
like
wonder about that.
attention to walk, you're gone, bye.
Right.
It's not like that. It's actually like a computer that's going to be like in the stand somewhere, or like up in the press box somewhere, and they're going to hook it up, and it's actually going to call the balls and strikes.
So now, what's the benefit of it?
It's supposed to make it more accurate, because sometimes the umpires, sometimes if it's high and low, and sometimes a lot of times the batters will argue, saying, hey, that was too inside. This is supposed to be like a scientific, accurate reading of what a ball is, what a strike is.
But you know what? How many umpires are there in Major League Baseball? Oh, let's take just American League. How many umpires?
Well, actually, they're not broken down to American League or National League anymore. They're all
Yeah,
in one
they're
row.
both one.
Okay, so how many umpires
5.
are there? Well, the point I'm getting to, that may be misleading, is you're in Major League Baseball. You play certain teams 18 times, and other teams 9 times or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're in these ballparks. You kind of know these umpires, and it's like, we got Charles,
Right,
umping
right.
behind the plate. He calls high strikes.
Right.
He calls low strikes.
Yeah.
As angry as I get on a missed call, I'm still rather, there be a way to perfect the ball in play rather than whether it was an inch too low or an inch too high.
Well, there was a period when they had Quest Tech out there, though, didn't they, Rick? When they tried to go ahead and micromanage the umpires there, but that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's just like I said, you're taking the human element out of the game. We all know they're gonna mess up, and that's what makes it fun when you see this. You're like, oh my God, what a terrible call, But it's just part of the game. It makes it fun, and the whole robot, the whole computer or robot or whatever they want to use,
Right.
it's just kind of weird. The pitching clock is fine.
You know
They use one in minor league baseball, and you actually don't even pay attention to it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So I'm
well,
okay with
the pitching
clock,
pitching clock will work, and okay, as long as they counter it with not letting the batter take an extra 10 or 15 seconds to, fix and Velcro his glove.
Yeah, they do. They've done that.
Yeah.
Where you can't step out of the box. You can't
Right.
adjust. Remember Nomar Garcia Parra? Oh man, he
Yeah.
was batting. He
Yeah.
would have messed up with his gloves and the little tweaks and all that stuff. And yeah, they don't do that anymore. They don't let them like step out anymore like they used to.
Well, yeah, they're cracking down on that. But you know what? I'm still not a proponent of the pitch clock. I don't care. I mean, you know what? You want to count the mound visits down from 6 to 5 or whatever, that's fine. I mean, what big deal? I mean, whatever these guys are going to say, whether it's a mound visit, they're going to talk about it in the dugout anyways. Right?
But I have to tell you, what I find humorous is they want to cut the length of the game down. So they're putting in a pitch clock. So if that pitch clock is basically going to save 6 minutes
Right.
to the length of the game. So you're going to have a game that's either 3 hours and 23 minutes or 3 hours and 29 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
it doesn't cut it down.
It
at
doesn't
all. They
cut
just
it-
cut it
doesn't
down
cut
like
it.
10 minutes, and it's still an ongoing problem, and that's why they're using the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball as like
Yeah,
a testing ground to try these tweaks and here and there, like having a runner start on the base in the inning, which I don't like. I think that's dumb.
And I'm
but-
just
Yeah,
like,
don't ever expect to see that one.
yeah,
in the
and I'm
major
just
leagues.
envisioning here I don't know if you ever saw The Big Bang Theory, where Leonard Sheldon didn't want to leave his room, so he had a laptop robot going around to work and everything.
Right.
And I'm just envisioning having this robot, like a stick figure with a tablet face, standing or crouching behind the plate.
I mean, does he eject you? I mean, if you do something wrong, is he gonna come and eject you? Is he gonna shoot you with his ray gun?
Right. And how does that affect the hitter? You get up to bat, you got the catcher squatting down just behind you, and there's another person behind him. Now all of a sudden you're getting up to bat, and there's only a catcher. That changes things. The fact that there isn't another body back there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't even know how they're going to do this. It's just weird to me. And like I said, you're taking the human element. And two, I don't like to see people lose their jobs and get replaced with technology. That's an ongoing issue. You see it in retail, or the McDonald's near me now. There's no cashiers, and
that's all right. We got it down here with the sun passes right over at the tolls too. Everything's all sun pass.
You go to a supermarket, you have self checkout.
Right. So
they're all self checkouts now.
I actually went to
the cashier.
I went to the manager at Walmart when I was there, and I asked him for my paycheck, and he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Listen, I came in here to shop. You're putting me to work. I want to get paid."
Right.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Well, there's perception reality. The human element is what it is. But you know what? The grand old game is going to keep playing no matter how many times you think you can tweak it to get it right. As you guys keep saying, let's shave off that extra minute, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you know what? I got 2 words for that. Okay. You ready, guys?
Yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah, so just imagine this guy going to the unemployment, and he goes, "Okay, well, work with us. We're going to find you a job. What did you do in your previous career?" He goes, "I was an umpire." You got a lot of openings for that.
Right. That's true. I don't know. Robot umpires, go figure. I don't know, but it's something they're talking about, so might as well somebody at least can address it on a baseball Tuesday, with the exception of one guest.
Hey, I would love, Rick, if as this progresses and you find that information, if you would go to the Sports Exchange page on Facebook and just post something about, hey, an update on the robots.
Okay.
That would be fabulous. This way we don't have to wait.
Great idea.
We don't have to wait for a Tuesday or whatever to.
Well, we have a new team that's coming in High Point, North Carolina. It's about an hour and a half away from me. It's outside of Greensboro. They're called the Rockers, and they are a new team in the Atlantic League of Professional Baseball. And I tend to go to the game, so maybe I can get a pick with a robot umpire together.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, well,
and give him a name.
Yeah, make sure he smiles too.
I'll call him like R2 TP, Wild Thing Dash 249, whatever his name is.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do that, and I'll make sure we post that picture on the South Florida Tribune as well as the South Florida Exchange pages. You don't have to worry about it. But anyways, we'll wrap this thing up here. We got Louis Avalon coming on the program in just a moment. But any final thoughts about robots or anything you want to say about Mickey Lolich before we have a chance to talk to him?
Mickey Lolich is a great person, one of the best pitchers, a legend, and I'm excited that he's on the show. And tell him I said, hey, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that. But meanwhile, Rick, thanks for being on the program, and we'll look forward to bringing you on next week. Okay, Rick? Thank you very much.
As long as you don't replace me with a robot, I'll be
Rick,
not a problem.
I can think of people I'd replace with a robot, but I assure you, I'll guarantee you're not one of them. Okay?
We got possums and badgers that could do better than robots.
There you go. No, you're safe there, Rick. Just keep up the good work, and you're safe. Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, Rick.
See you, Rick.
Bye-bye. Rick Hurdy, everybody.
All right, now before we get to Louis Avalon, okay, let me go over some basic information about Louis. I met Louis on Friday up in Port St. Lucie at the Mets ballpark. He's played he's a 7-year veteran, played with Atlanta for 4 years, the Dodgers for 3, and he split time last year with the Philadelphia Phillies and the Chicago White Sox. His career mark is 19-10 with a 3.09 earned run average, 399 games, 2 saves, and 308.2 innings. Here's what's interesting about him. We got a left-hander coming up at the top of the hour, and now we're going to wrap it up in the first hour with a left-handed reliever.
Right.
And I've always been a firm believer that left-handers have a lot more rope when it comes to getting the bigs than a lot of the right-handers do. And Luis Avalon was invited.
Well, you know why?
Why?
Because you need a certain amount of pitchers, and left-handers there are many less left-handers than there are right-handers.
Oh, there's no question. I remember years ago when I covered the Fort Lauderdale.
I need a left-hander. I only got 12 guys to pick from. I need a right-hander. I got 320.
Exactly. Well, one of the things I remember covering minor league ball years ago was a guy by the name of Ray Fontenot.
Yeah.
And Ray Fontenot, a former Yankee player, and the Cubs, he was a classic example that left-handers move a little quicker, whether they're great or not. So with that said, let's go to Luis Avalon, Peter, and then we'll bring on Mickey Lolich very shortly. You're on the South Florida Tribune hotline. So Luis is about ready to hit the WEI network airwaves.
Yeah, where is he? There he is.
Okay, Luis, go ahead and take it away. All right. I'm speaking with Luis Avalon. And Luis, I know you're a non-roster guy trying to make the ball club. So tell me a little bit about where you've come from and what you're looking to accomplish here with the Mets.
Well, Scott, I'm just trying to accomplish to make the team, trying to show these guys that I'm healthy, I'm fully healthy, and I'm capable to get people out.
Okay, well, you're obviously on a team right now which can use you. I know you were with Philadelphia before, but, the Mets are in a situation where, they're not contenders yet. So how much can you feel that you can bring to this ball club?
Well, I bring experience. I'm in the league for a long time, and I know how to get people out, and that's pretty much what I'm bringing to this team.
Now, what type of role have they told you that they're looking for? A long reliever or a closer, or have they given you any role? Or are you trying to figure out what that role is?
No roles. Just trying to show them that I'm healthy, and that's it. That's pretty much it. I think if I'm healthy, I can deliver it in my best experience. So I'm just trying to show them that I'm healthy, like I say, and I try to make the team.
Okay, what are your thoughts about playing in New York?
I like it. I always like to go to New York, and I like the stadium, and it's going to be fun.
Now, obviously, let's talk about some of your other stops. Can you give me an overview of every stop and what you took out of each of those stops?
What stops?
In other words, your previous teams.
Oh, well, I came out in the big league with the Braves. It was a fun team for me because I had the opportunity to play with Chipper Jones. And then I went to the Dodgers, which is we made the playoff every single year that I went there. And it was pretty fun to play with that team. And then I went to White Sox. It's a new experience because that team was in the rebuilding process. And I made good friends there. And then in the ending of the year, last year, I was with the Phillies. And also played with a bunch of nice guys. So I like it.
Yeah, well, so it looks like the White Sox were your only American League team. Otherwise, your background has more or less been in the National League. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what was it like playing in the American League, knowing that, you didn't have to hit, you had the designated hitter? Was that refreshing, or do you like playing with the National League folks?
Well, it's the same thing. You still have to make up people out, put the guys out, and that's it.
Do you describe yourself as a control pitcher, a high power pitcher? What type of pitcher does Luis Avalon classify him as?
And just trying to locate the pitches, and that's it. That's pretty much my game.
So, obviously, if you had an opportunity to get to know some of your teammates, I know you got Robinson Cano. You have some pretty experienced guys on this team. So what's your experience been like here during spring training?
I like them all. They're nice guys. They have a lot of experience as well. And it's been fun so far.
Have they welcomed you with open arms in this clubhouse?
Absolutely. They're nice guys, and I've been enjoying playing with this team.
Have you had an opportunity to work with Chuck Hernandez at all?
Yeah. I know Chuck since last year. We talked a little bit when he was a coach for the Braves, and I like him, and it's been fun.
Yeah, Chuck, just so you know, Lewis has been a good friend of mine since 1982. So don't know if you were quite born back then, but the one thing about Chuck that I've noticed is not only is he a good mechanical type of guy, but his moves to the base pass were unbelievable. What have you been able to get out of Chuck Hernandez?
Well, we've been talking not that much mechanic and anything like that. We've just been talking about the game and how I like to pitch, how I like to approach the guys, and that's it.
You know, and so how do you like to pitch, and what is your approach when you're actually on the mound?
Well, I like to pitch the guys inside and then attack them with my soft pitches.
Anything else you want to add about how much you can actually benefit this Mets team once you're able to go ahead and make the club?
Well, I try to get the lefties out. That's it. That's pretty much my goal. Try to put guys out and give everything I can to make the playoff.
So, you know, and how close do you think the Mets are to actually turning the corner to make the playoffs? I know they've made some pretty good additions during the offseason. They've added Cano. I know they had a guy named Keon Broxton, so they've added a little speed and defense. And I'm sure they made do you think that this team is much closer to the playoffs than most people think?
Yeah, absolutely. They have on paper, we looked fantastic. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be in the fight for that playoff spot.
What was it like playing in Philadelphia?
It was great. I mean, it's in the big league, and I love playing in the big league. So it was fun.
And Bryce, you kind of missed Bryce Harper a little bit. What do you think he's in for out in Philadelphia? What kind of an acquisition is that going to be for the Phillies with Bryce Harper?
He's great. I mean, he's one of the best all-around players in the game, and they make a good sign right there.
All right. Well, listen, Lewis, I can't tell you how much it's been a pleasure of mine to talk to you, and I'll be monitoring your situation during the course of the 2019 season. So, Lewis, once again, thanks for being on the Sports Exchange.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
The WEI Network is the world's entertainment and information network. Talk radio and entertainment from prominent individuals and business owners, as well as national and local celebrities, plus live interviews and broadcasting of events. Do you need a marketing and promotions for your next business or organization? Contact the WEI Network at 561-290-4597 or email us at inquiries@weiNetwork.com.
This is Adrienne Mazzone, president of Transmedia Group. We're a full-service public relations firm serving clients worldwide since 1981, headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida. I wanted to put a challenge out to you. I want you to think about the last 3 accomplishments and how proud you are that you got through it and what you did. But who knows about it, and how are you getting that message out? Let us know how we can help you. Check us out, transmediagroup.com, or give me a call personally, 561-750-9800, extension 2270. Let me know you heard it on the WEI Network.
This is Ray Romano, and Peter's Living Room's a great show, and he hasn't asked me to be on it, but he did ask me to do this promo. I guess men of a certain age and women, too, like to listen to it, and so do I. Peter, why don't you have me on your show?
And now back to the show.
All right, we are back here at the Sports Exchange, and your thoughts about Louis Avalon, Sam? Start with you.
Yeah, I mean, if he can really prove that he is healthy and that he can get outs, then I don't see why the team shouldn't take him. You know, he's really shown that he's putting in the work, he's grinding, he's healthy. Put him on the team, coach.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah. And my gut feeling
is
if he makes the team, he's going to be a long reliever.
Right.
That's my gut.
Okay.
A middle reliever.
Well, I mean, he's was a good,
but he's got experience,
right?
And you know, unfortunately, the Mets have been one of those teams on paper should be a contender every year, but they get hit with all these injuries. I mean, devastating injuries, and you know, you get somebody. He's proved he can play.
Right.
You know, he can endure.
He's in a good situation up there with the Mets, too, because when you think about what the are, Keon Broxton, a guy who needs to improve his hitting or he'll be run out of New York like he was in Milwaukee, is a good defender and with a lot of speed. But Broxton has to get his act together with the bat, and he needed to take extra batting practice. Robinson Cano was on that team. I saw him hit a home run against the Marlins
Yeah.
on Friday. So, he's going to definitely be a big offensive threat. And then, of course, you bring in Luis. He's in a good situation where, to me, a non-roster invitee is the equivalent to a undrafted free agent. It's a great, yeah, it is. And that if they work out, what do you got invested in them? Isn't everything to gain nothing in the situation? And you're right. This guy's a left-hander, and he's performed at the level, and they need him.
Right. And as we said earlier, there's a lot less inventory for left-handed pitches, relievers, or whatever, than there are right-handers.
Yeah. No matter how much the game always changes, whether they're trying to speed it up or whatnot. Let me tell you, if you're a left-hander, people are going to look at you, and you have a longer shelf life. You really do.
So how come you weren't an athlete?
I guess my parents should have pushed me harder. No, I'm kidding, Mom and Dad. Don't take that seriously. Honestly, I just enjoyed doing a whole slew of things besides, just putting all my time to either basketball or soccer or football. Now that I look back, it's like, yeah, maybe I should have put in all that work for it. But
well, not basketball.
Actually, I think I'm probably out of all the sports, I'm probably best at basketball. Yeah. But I know when I have kids, I'm going to make sure if they want to play sports, I want to make sure that they play their sports all day, every day. You know what I mean on that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Of course, he's a basketball player. He's the tallest one of the group of bears here.
Compared to us,
hold on.
He's
what position were you?
I was always a 2 or 3, but I was always shorter back in the day. Now I kind of grew a little bit, so I kind of can fill 3 or 4. But you put me at the point guard position, I'm facilitating. I'm putting the ball in your hands, and I'm getting the assists. We're winning the game.
I'm not quite sure where I'd fit in these days. I wouldn't even try to think about it.
Yeah, I wasn't good at basketball.
No.
I could pass. I could play point.
Nice.
I couldn't do a layup. I was terrible.
Yeah, my shot's terrible.
I was, as a kid, I was in a basketball league. And everybody had to play at least 2 minutes. I was the one that the coach had to find the 2 minutes to put me in.
That was me for an extended time.
I used to like the layups, and then I'll tell you what. Later on, as I played,
but all-star in baseball.
I was too. But I as I got older in my 20s and 30s, I used to like the bad boys image, and I used to take elbows and shove people around.
Yeah.
Now the people didn't like it, but I enjoyed it, doing it anyway.
And you still live.
I am here in this studio with you guys, aren't I?
Yeah, it's funny.
I guess I must have lived to tell about it, but baseball was my best sport. I played it 6 years. I was a catcher. And,
so was I.
Yeah, so and I was a pretty good one, an all-star one. And I used to warm up pitchers. I used to take a beating behind the plate, and I did what I did best. I used to frame pitches and distract the umpires to get.
You ever get hit on the chin?
I got hit everywhere.
Yeah, I remember. The ones that bounce. You got a cup. It still hurts.
Right.
But I remember like it was yesterday.
Right.
The guy. He popped it up right up, and I flipped the mask off as he was finishing his swing.
Oh.
And that edge of the back just came and caught me.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, I participated in some Little League baseball, some local stuff. But one of the reasons why I never continued to do it was because every single time I got up to the plate, I was petrified that I was going to get hit by the pitch.
Really?
And that just completely deterred me from the sport of baseball.
This will catch you. I probably have watched more Little League World Series games than I have Major League World Series games.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Really?
Yeah, I love the Little League World Series.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well, one of the things that you guys probably wouldn't be surprised about is being a former catcher like I am. A lot of my great interviews in spring training and throughout Major League Baseball have been with the catchers.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the other positions are fine. But when you've been in that position, you can really relate it to the guys that are actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite catcher interviews, I can. One of my good ones is Brad Osmus, manager of the the Los Angeles Angels. He's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
James McCann of the Detroit Tigers, and the list.
Yeah.
Ray Fosse of the Oakland A's, another good one. So.
Yeah, I was going to interview Thurman Munson. He asked me to take a ride in his plane with him, and I said, I really can't.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't.
I'm not so sure how far you'd have gotten with that interview.
Yeah,
but Munson
it would never have been aired.
Well, believe it or not, a guy that I really
that's sick.
That's sick. The one, speaking of catchers, though, one that we're going to be mentioning up in Mickey comes on that I really enjoyed was Bill Freehand, Mickey Lolich's battery mate.
Yeah.
Bill Freehand, I'll tell you, him and Mickey were a dynamite tandem. They really were.
Yeah. Then one day I was hanging out with Ojeda from Cleveland.
Yeah.
And said him and the guys wanted to go out. Could they borrow my boat?
Yeah.
And I said, I can't give you the boat.
Sorry.
Good thing I didn't give him the boat.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I want to go there, but I know it took place in Winter Haven now.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not so sure you need to Google that one.
No, yeah, definitely not.
But Bill Freehand was a catcher I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And when the '84 Tigers had Lance Parrish was a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I remember
Parrish
Parrish.
back there. Yeah, he was pretty good.
And you brought up Little League. Wasn't it like maybe like 10, 15 years ago? The Boynton Beach.
Boynton Beach kids won.
Yeah.
And Apopka, which is up near Ocala,
Right.
won 1 year.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
My grandfather sang at the national anthem at one of those World Series.
Oh, really?
And I just remember blue. There was like a dark blue and yellow Boynton Beach boys basketball. I mean, baseball. Yeah, baseball team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting when you get a team from near your hometown. You know, but I just like it. I
Right.
mean,
You show some pride.
huh?
You show some pride when it's
You
like a
show some
local
pride.
team.
Yeah, I mean, these kids can play. You know, a lot of them can play. They know the basics. They know the fundamentals. Unfortunately, by the time they get to the major leagues, they forget the fundamentals.
That's true.
Bunt. You stick the bat out. You hit the ball 15, 20 feet. You know?
I actually enjoyed bunting. If it meant that I can move the guy over, I wasn't that great of a hitter, but I did the little things I had to do. But defense was my strength.
Heard a story yesterday about Reggie Jackson. Billy Martin and him, they really didn't get along.
Right.
And Billy Martin gave him the signal to bunt. He was mad at him.
Right.
And it's like, Reggie Jackson's home run hitter. You don't give him a bunt. Anyway, he attempts to bunt, strike. And then Martin takes, and Jackson's pissed that he had a bunt. And then Martin took the bunt call off. And Jackson said, screw you. And he went to bunting, and then he struck out trying to bunt. He got suspended for 5 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny that you say that. There was a similar situation that happened in a soccer game where the coach is actually the Chelsea Soccer Club. Actually, the coach tried taking the goalkeeper out before penalties, and the goalkeeper was like, I'm staying in, and the coach got really pissed.
Okay, well, anyways, I think we have our featured guest on the moment. In a moment here, Mickey Lolich, the 1968 World Series MVP, is about to join us here. And like I said, it's going to be great to have Mickey on the program. So, again, the 1968 World Series, you want to talk about one of the greatest performances in the series. The man on the South Florida Tribune hotline is about to give us. And Mickey, welcome to the Sports Exchange. I appreciate you being on the program.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, I want to joke around with you a little bit about me colliding into your patio door, Mickey. That was one interesting situation.
Well, I've never had anybody do that before, so you're first on the list ever.
I've been told that.
Well, so he's going to be the talk of the party, right? You can't believe I had this guy here the other day, and yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could be first at something. I know you've been first at a few things, and we'll get to those in a moment. But when I was eating with Tom Gage yesterday, he told me that you were that you write with your right hand and you pitch left-handed. Why don't you tell the listeners that story, Mickey?
Okay, I want to let you know something here. Right from the beginning, I've sort of reconsidered doing this show, but I'll go along with you for a while.
Okay.
I wrote a book. It took me 1 year to write the book.
Okay.
And the book is available on Amazon. And I can guarantee you that all the questions that I will be asked are in the book.
Okay.
So you're going to have to come up with something completely unique, because I don't want to give away all the information that's in my book. I want people to buy my book.
Well, don't worry, Mickey. I've got the platforms for which to do that. So for those individuals that don't have it in front of them, okay, I would appreciate it if you go over a couple of things, and I'll make sure that the word gets out there. I am impressed, though, that you did sell 151 of them, though, on Sunday, and you'll have an opportunity to go into more detail about the book. Is that fair enough? Okay.
Yeah, as long as we don't get into, 45 minutes of book questions.
Well, I hope not, Mickey. I think I prepared you pretty well when I was out there about some of the things I wanted to talk about, and I think we're going to probably stay along those lines. Okay, let's talk about the 1968 World Series team, the magical season, winning 3 games. I know you had a complete game, and the what was it like going up against Bob Gibson and being the MVP, winning 3 games in that series, Mickey?
Well, at the time when we played the 68 World Series, the 2 Cy Young winners were Bob Gibson and Denny McLain. And when it came down to Game 7, I'm pitching against Bob Gibson. And I sort of know I got my hands full a little bit. But I've already won 2 World Series games. They're both complete games. And I was being asked to pitch on 2 days rest. And it's like, well, that's a little tough when you're going against a guy like Bob Gibson. So I agreed to do it. And I was told that I was only going to pitch 5 innings. And at the end of the 5th inning, the score was zip, zip. No runs have been scored by either team. And as I walked off the mound, I sort of patted myself on the back and says, well, you got through the 5 they wanted you to do, so now it's turned over to somebody else. But lo and behold, they wanted me to pitch 1 more. And when I got through that one, as I'm walking off the mound, okay, I'm all right. I did what they asked of me. And then I was asked, can you go 1 more? Well, I got that every inning I walked off the mound, even in the 8th inning when we had actually taken a lead. Can you go 1 more? And I went, what the hell? I got nothing else to do. I got the whole winter off.
Right.
And I said, okay. And so I ended up with another complete game. That's in the book.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. When you went up like Bob Gibson, when you started a game against somebody as a pitcher as dominant as a Gibson or anybody else in that era, did you ever go out there with the butterflies or saying, "Oh my God, how am I going to beat this guy"?
No, not really. I was a guy that everybody referred to as having ice water in my veins. I didn't let anything bother me. And anytime I was going up against a top-notch pitcher, a catfish hunter, a Gaylord Perry, well, Gaylord wasn't even in the league then. I shouldn't say that. But he came in the league later. Jim Palmer, go through the list of them. There was a lot of great pitchers back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And I always got myself up for them. And actually, there's some of the best games I ever pitched.
You know what? That's like a true professional. It doesn't matter. I'm the best. I'm going to win. Period.
When you won that World Series MVP, Mickey, what was it like to win the World Series MVP, especially against a dominating team like the St. Louis Cardinals with Lou Brock and a lot of great players on that?
Well, when they came in and announced that I was the MVP, I was sort of, really? I mean, because K-Line had a great World Series. Jim Northrup had a great World Series. Lou Brock, he had a fantastic World Series. So,
yeah, but you won 3 games.
Yeah, but I also hit my first major league home run.
Right.
And I ended up getting 3 hits in the World Series, and I was a lousy hitter. And
how many home runs did you have in your career?
1.
That was it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's such a great trivia question, sports trivia question.
And I always used to say, if you're going back in that era, if you're playing against Cleveland and you had 4,500 to 5,000 people in the stands, that wouldn't be a good time to hit your first home run. Why not wait till there was 60, 80 million people?
Yeah, really.
So what was the feeling like, Mickey, to defeat Bob Gibson?
Well, I wasn't defeating Bob Gibson. I was defeating the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right. Okay.
I mean, they had a great lineup, and I mean, I had to bear down throughout the whole ball game.
Right.
The only time I slipped up a little bit is when I had 2 outs in the 9th inning, and Mike Shannon came up to bat, and I had a 4-0 lead, and he was a dead fastball hitter. And I said to myself, well, you can't walk him. You know, that could jeopardize things.
Right.
And so I threw him nothing but fastballs. And when he hit the ball out to make the score 4-1, I was like, yeah, I told you, Mick, you shouldn't throw them all fastball. You might be in trouble. I was. 1 run, you know.
Okay, so describe the hug with Bill Freehan after the World Series when everybody's got a picture. That's memorable.
Well, that was sort of, how do I say this? When a pop-up went up between first base and the catcher, or the catcher and the third baseman, my job was to go over to where they were at as they were, you know, closing in on the ball that was still up there. And I was supposed to sort of judge which one is going to get there first by the way they're moving. And so I started running towards first base, not first base, but between first and home, because that's where the ball was. And I looked at Norm and I looked at Bill, and Bill actually had a shorter run to get to the ball. So I was running towards him, and when the ball went down in his glove, I mean, the World Series was over, and he was actually bigger than me, you know, and I figured, I'm going to jump on him. I'm not going to let him jump on me. So
That's funny. That's
how the picture came out.
Well, it was a great one. All right, so you recently had the 50-year reunion with the team. What was that like over at Comerica Park?
Boy, they looked old. I'll tell you, all of them. You know, we had a very, very good ball club in '68, and seeing them all come back together, and you know, a lot of the guys from the '68 World Series team weren't there because they passed on, and we were talking about that a lot. About so and so was with us. He's not with us anymore, and how he helped us win that year as a relief pitcher, or you know, back and forth. Eddie Matthews isn't with us anymore. You know, it's sort of, you know, sort of great feeling to be able to be there for the 50th anniversary. Yeah. So, you know, that's basically what the discussion was among the players. You know, happy to be here and very thoughtful of the guys that helped us win the pennant that year.
So you had the stint. I mean, you were in New York for a little while. I think did you end your career with San Diego? Was that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I was.
Do you ever consider yourself anything other than a Tiger?
No, not really. When I went to the Mets, I was a starting pitcher, and then I actually retired from baseball. And then the Padres called me and said, we want you to come out to Arizona, Yuma, and see if you can make the ball club. And I did. Yeah, but I was strictly a relief pitcher out there. My starting days were over.
Okay, Mickey, would tell me, not winning the Cy Young Award, do you think that attributed to your Hall of Fame snub? I know a lot of Hall of Famers have one on their resume.
Yes, I think that has a big thing to do with it. Because when you win the Cy Young Award, I mean, that jumps out at everybody, and I always say that's probably one of the two reasons that I haven't had any great amount of Hall of Fame votes.
Okay, what came together for you in 1971? You had 25 wins, and Billy Martin was your manager. Billy Martin, you loved complete games. What was your experience like with Billy Martin?
It's in the book.
Okay. All right.
Every question you've asked me so far.
Well,
I don't know. He was just a guy that he said something to me that we met during the winter, and he said, you know, you're a strong guy. You can pitch a lot of innings, and I'm telling you right now, the first 6 innings of every game you pitch, no matter what the score is, you're going to pitch 6 innings. So if you get yourself in trouble out there, you better get yourself out of trouble. And I thought he was kidding me. I was pitching one game against Baltimore, and I was down 4-0 in the second inning. And I looked over at the bench, and he was standing there with his arms folded, looking right back out at me. Well, I got myself out of the jam that inning with no runs being scored. And as I walked in, he says, in Billy's language, "What the hell were you looking at?" And I said, "Well, gee, I
Okay.
actually use stronger language if you know Billy Martin."
Well,
But
actually, I did get to know him a little bit, but go ahead.
And I said, "Well, things are sort of going bad out here." I looked down at the bullpen, nobody's warming up, and I'm out there, and I got myself into a super jam. And he says, "I told you, you're pitching 6 innings. You've got to learn how to get out of them." And that changed my whole confidence for the year. I mean, it really did. And I knew if I gave up 2 or 3 runs early in a ball game, I was in there till the 6th inning. And a lot of times we would tie it up and do things, and which worked out great for me because I ended up winning 25 that year.
Okay, well, let's talk about something that isn't in the book. I'm sure you welcome that. Is today's game make you too specialized? Because I know back then you had a lot of complete games, and you said you probably could have had more, but nowadays guys are limited to 6, 7 innings, and pitch counts are involved.
Yep. That I can talk about. I do not like today's ball game whatsoever. There's been so many changes that have taken place in baseball that, and first off, the number one thing they did after 68 was ruled the year of the pitcher. They dropped the mound from 15 inches down to 10 inches. And, pitchers live with their fastball. They all do. The good ones live with their fastball. And by dropping from 15 to 10, it takes away from your fastball. You need that extra height in the mound to get the leverage to be able to throw up in the 90s, high 90s.
Didn't they change the mound when Gibson had that 1.15 ERA? They lowered the mound the next year.
Yeah, and plus McLean won 31 games.
Right.
So they decided they were going to make this decision to lower the mound. Now, the one thing I didn't like about that decision, the Players Association was never asked about it whatsoever. Our union wasn't that strong in those days. And they just made a new rule in baseball. We're going to lower the mound. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I pitched a lot of innings in my lifetime, tremendous amount of innings. But I never had to worry about Tommy John surgery and this and that. They have more injuries for pitchers nowadays than ever had in the history of baseball. And it's all because of the mound being lower. Their velocities are down a little bit. And then they got that stupid pitch count for some reason.
Yeah.
100 pitches, you're out of the game. I understand that. I understand the 100 pitches. But I know that I started to lose a velocity after 100 pitches. I threw an average of 135 to 145 pitches a game. When you throw hard, you get a lot of foul balls. Mm-hmm. And that runs your pitch count up. But that's when you learn how to pitch. You don't have your super good stuff anymore. And once you learn how to pitch, pitching becomes actually easier. But they got this thing, we don't want them to hurt their arms because we got so much money invested in them.
Right.
And so they yank them out there, and then they start running in the parade of relief pitchers. Now they're even talking about changing that rule. They're always changing rules.
Well, it's funny. You talk about changing the rules. What are your thoughts? Could you have ever pitched on a pitch clock?
A pitch clock?
Yeah, they're talking about. I mean, that to me, I couldn't tolerate it.
That's not good, because if you're pitching in a game and you're pitching a day game someplace and it's hotter than the son of a gun, a lot of times you get the ball back and you start rubbing it up, and all you're doing is stalling. Just to sort of get your wind back in your lungs so you can start pitching again. And heck, I've rubbed the baseball up for 30 seconds before I even turn back to the mound to throw. So I think it's a stupid rule, totally stupid. They'll regret it.
Yeah, I mean, and what about mound visits? I know they went from 6 to 5, and who knows what they're gonna I mean, that's another rule they're looking to change the game. What are your thoughts about the amount of mound visits? Did you ever have a lot of time to talk to your catcher in the dugout between innings?
Yeah. My wife signaled something. I missed the end of the thing he said. They're talking about if a relief pitcher comes in, he has to pitch to at least 3 batters. Well, what the heck? I mean, you bring a guy in to get one left-hander out, and you get him out if you're a left-handed pitcher, and now you got to face 2 right-hand hitters that maybe are monster hitters that love to jack the ball out of the ballpark, and you're out there. I mean, I know they change pitchers way too damn much, excuse my French, but they keep playing with it. What? God, why can't they play the game of baseball that used to be played back in 1935, 45?
Hey, I've got a question.
I mean,
yeah, being that you don't seem to be an opinionated type of guy, they're testing out these robot umpires. We were talking about it a little earlier. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I've heard about it. They're going to test them in the minor leagues. Or something.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we'll have a starting lineup of 9 robots out there playing the game for the players.
You know what? When they do holograms, it's going to be a 3D video game, basically. In 3D.
So tell me, Mickey, how much did you want to become a mailman? Did you have aspirations to become a mailman?
Oh, yes, I did. It's in the book.
Well, here's a question for you, Mickey. For us young folk, talk about your work ethic. And did you have a strict regimen when preparing for games? Did you work out a lot? Tell us some about your regiment.
Yeah, okay, it's in the book, but I'll tell you. I learned from a trainer who was a very good friend of Satchel Paige's. And Pat Satch could pitch on 2 days rest, 1 day rest, whatever he had to do. And he used to cook his arm with a towel wrapped around his arm, turn the water on as hot as he could turn it, and stand there for 15 minutes. And the trainer would tell you when your 15 minutes was up because we didn't have a clock in the shower room. And what it does, all that heat you're putting on your arm is flushing out all the stiffness, all the bad blood that's in there from pitching the day before. And it rushes fresh blood back into your arm. And, that was the day after I pitched. And then the second day, my arm felt pretty good. And I would actually go down in the bullpen on the third day, the day before I pitched. We used to pitch every 4 days then. And I would actually loosen up in the bullpen. I'd probably throw 50, 60 pitches in the bullpen, just sort of loosening the arm up. I didn't soak my arm that day, but my arm was fine. And I'd go out and pitch on my scheduled day to pitch.
You didn't need any high technology to work your arm back into shape.
Well, as long as the hot water heater kept running.
Yeah, right. You just needed electricity.
All right, now, Mickey, when I wasn't banging my head up against your patio door, and we were talking about your donut shop, let's talk about how much you would be worth on today's pay scale, because these guys are getting paid a lot of money.
Well, I know you've heard this many, many times, but I'm 78 years old. They probably wouldn't give me a whole lot of money, but
but in your prime,
I probably would be making some money in my lifetime. If we were playing under the present day salaries. I played professional baseball, including 4 years in the minors and 16 years in the big leagues. And this is in the book. I made a total of $800,000.
Wow.
20 years of baseball, I made $800,000.
Years ago, I saw an interview with Joe DiMaggio. Now, he was alive. Steinbrenner was still around. And he was asked that if he was negotiating a contract today, and like in his prime, what would he demand from Steinbrenner? And he said, I'll walk up to Steinbrenner, put my arm around them, and say, "Hello, partner."
Yeah, that's what these guys are today. They're mostly, you know, I used to say we played baseball because we love the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no matter what was going on, we love the game. But nowadays, when these guys are playing, they're basically corporations. You know,
Right.
They're playing for the money. You know, the big
Right.
money. You know.
Right. And I have one more question for you. I'm going to actually open this up for you. Is there anything about baseball that you would like to talk about that's not in your book? Anything special?
Well, like I said, it took a year for me to write that book, and I covered a tremendous amount of topics. You know, my life story is really what I wrote.
Yeah.
I wrote it for my daughters. I had 3 daughters that they would come to ball games, but they didn't know what was going on. And then I got 4 grandsons that never saw me play.
Right.
So I went back to the beginning of how I got started, and I worked my way through the book. I talk about my youth, then I talk about Game 1 of the World Series. Then I go back to my youth, then I go back to Game 2 of the World Series. So
this is your legacy.
Yeah, it's my legacy.
Uh-huh.
And I've had a lot of people read it, and I have got tremendous amount of compliments over it. They said the book's unique in the way it's written, and I forgot what the question was. But
I just want, if there's anything you wanted to talk about that you don't have in the book, anything that, you know, about Major League Baseball or sports that kind of tickles your fancy or that you have passion about.
Well, I don't know if I put it in the book or not. I'll sort of answer that one. When these guys started developing this uppercut swing to hit home runs,
Yeah.
There's an umpire. I won't use his name, but he said the ball's been hopped up too. You know,
Which
so
juice.
Major League Baseball wanted to see more runs being scored.
Right. They juice the ball.
Major League Baseball doesn't like 2-to-1 ball games.
Right.
They want to see those football scores up there. So I think that's wrong with the game, but people like it. They like to see the ball jumping out of the ballpark.
Well, I thought they kind of juiced the ball a little bit to keep the home run, to keep the, you know, scoring up and pull away from the the steroid era. So you know what? They're not using steroids anymore. That they're not juicing up with a needle. They're just juicing up the ball so the ball will travel further.
All right.
I have every single win that I ever won in the big league except for 5 balls. They were the last ball of every game.
Uh-huh.
And I've compared balls that I was throwing to the modern day baseball. I got my hands on one of those.
Yeah.
And the seams were higher on the ball that I threw, which means you could make the ball move more and do things.
Interesting.
For the modern day baseball, it is wound so tight, and the seams you can barely grab onto them. So I'll give credit. I have a guy that used to pitch in Detroit. Man, he was challenging all my records all along the way. He threw no hitters and everything with this modern ball. Talking about Justin Verlander.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what he did in the time he pitched in Detroit with a hopped up ball and things like that, I give him all the credit in the world.
All right.
Walk-in Hall of Famer.
Mickey, let's talk about today's players. I remember covering a game with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Detroit Tigers, and I think a lot of players this day, they don't know the history of the game. The situation I'm referring to is Mike Maroth. And when I asked him about your name, he didn't know you. And then Troy Percival looked at him and said, really? You don't know Mickey Lolich? Are you fascinated that a lot of guys don't know about the history of the game?
Well, they don't care. You know, it's like, I'll give you an example. They sent Willie Horton, our power hitter that we had on the Tigers, to spring training to work sort of as an assistant batting coach during spring training. And he was talking to major leaguers. You know, he wasn't talking to minor leaguers. and he was saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, and, you know, how you got to get ready. And they, you know what they said to him? Hey, you played a long time ago. I don't do it that way. Don't talk to me anymore. They don't care. They're into themselves. You know.
So tell me.
We used to.
I'm sorry. Go
when
ahead.
we went on road trips, we always had roommates.
Okay.
We had somebody a roommate, someone to have breakfast with, someone to have dinner with. I mean, you became very close to your roommate. Nowadays, these guys have their own rooms. They don't want a room with anybody, you know, and they all want to play their own music.
Yeah, they don't want to share the same women.
Can you have imagined yourself playing in the high altitude of Denver, Colorado? What would that have been like? I mean, the way those balls fly out.
Well, actually, I did play a couple weeks in Denver.
Did you really?
But, yeah, I did. But, you know.
It's like playing
that's gotta
wiffle
be a
ball.
Huh?
That's like playing wiffle ball, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the balls just jump out of that ballpark. It's ridiculous. Why they don't win the pennant every year, I don't know.
I mean, I know they had a humidor for a while, and there was actually a no-hitter actually thrown, I believe, over Coors Field. Yeah. I mean,
you never know.
Would you say that catchers are today are better or worse than they were back in the day?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know, the only ball team I ever watch is the Tigers, and I don't watch other teams play, so I can't really answer that question.
Okay.
They're better today than they were, you know, back in when I played.
How about Doc Ellis? You remember Doc?
I remember the name, don't remember a whole lot about him.
Oh, okay. Then the rest of the question won't mean anything, so we can move on.
All right. Now, obviously, being from Metro Detroit, okay, I found it ironic, okay, we joked around about this when we visited, okay, that you had a donut on a bat, okay, to a donut shop. I mean, that to me is pretty cool. I mean, you had to, obviously, so let's compare donuts here. The donut shop versus the donut on the bat. And I'm going to let you go ahead and say what you want, so I'm not putting my foot in my mouth about what is or what isn't in the book, because I prefer to keep my feet on the floor, not my mouth. Okay, Mickey? All right, go ahead.
Well, I did say earlier that I wasn't a very good hitter.
Okay.
I think my lifetime bat average was like 110. And there would be no reason in the world why I would put a donut on a bat. It wouldn't make a damn bit of difference.
But meanwhile, you made them, and there were a lot of carbs in them, and that was your life after baseball. I mean, that was pretty interesting. So I guess, I know you sold your donut shop 20 years ago, but what do you say to people when they still say that they like your donuts? I mean, knowing that you're 20 years removed from that.
The best story that people say to me a lot of times, I was up at your donut shop. Excuse me. I was up at your donut shop last week, and I bought a dozen of your donuts, and boy, they were really good. And I say, really? I say, yeah. And I says, well, how are your teeth? And they sort of look at me really funny. And they says, well, what do you mean, how are my teeth? I says, I haven't made a donut in 23 years. And if you ate one last week from my donut shop, your teeth must be, man, they're hard as concrete. How did you chew them? They're trying to be nice, you know.
So what are your thoughts about Krispy Kreme donuts?
I've had them.
Have you?
Know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tasted them. You know, there's only one donut I get there, and and if I go to Dunkin' Donuts, there's a different donut I get there. But I'm very selective about my donuts. So
you think?
And that's the thing about people. I mean, I learned that in the 18 years that I owned the donut shop, that people eat the same donut all the time. They have their favorite. You know, they don't really seem to change.
Yeah, now they got the donut wars here. You got Krispy Kreme, you got Dunkin' Donuts. Boy, we're getting on a subject eventually I'm going to get hungry about later on. But, yeah, so, I mean, you know, you reinvented yourself at your little donut shop, and now there's a Dunkin' Donuts in every corner, although I didn't see one near where when I was near you, I had to go a few miles away, but still. All right, let's talk about some of the ballparks you played in. Were there any favorite ones you like to play in? I know Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, or favorite or difficult ones. Why don't you get into the ballparks that you played in, and were there any that stood out?
Well, I was talking earlier about Cleveland Indians only having 6,000 people in the stands. And Cleveland, I could take my glove and throw it on the field, and they were beat. I won more games against Cleveland than any other team in baseball.
Oh, did you really?
One of the hardest teams for me to pitch against was the Oakland A's, especially back through the 70s. One time they were the Kansas City. What were they? Kansas City something. Then they moved to Oakland. And when they got out there, yeah, the Kansas City A's.
Right, the Athletics, yeah.
They still with the A's, and they went to Oakland. But they were a tough club, boy, back there through when they moved out there, when they had Sal Bando and Reggie Jackson and all those guys. You know, Catfish Center, they had a great pitching staff.
Raleigh Fingers was there then, right?
Yeah, Raleigh Fingers.
Yeah.
You know,
I have,
character he was.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Your 2,679 strikeouts is the second most in AL American League history by a left-hander. Who was number one?
Yeah. Sabathia.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he broke that. He broke my record. I don't know if it was last year.
Last year, I think.
How did you feel when he broke your record?
Yeah, I think it was last year because there was the talk about them keeping him active because of the record.
Yeah. Well, you know, I started out by being the number one strikeout pitcher in both American and National Leagues. And then Randy Johnson came along.
Mm-hmm.
That other guy, he screwed me up too, so I held the record as the American League strikeout guy since 1975. I held the record. And Sebastian broke up last year. So.
Well, in the decade, the 65 to 74, you struck out more batters than any other major league pitcher, and even more than Gibson.
Well, if you say so.
Well, yeah. I'm telling. And actually, you mentioned Gaylord Perry before. He was the only one who pitched more innings in that decade than you.
Oh. Well.
So your complete games, and I think weren't you the most winningest pitcher in the American League in like 65 to 74? I know Gaylord won more in the majors, but I think you were the number one in wins in that decade.
Okay. Mickey, let me ask you a lighter question, okay? I know you're an opening act for Vic Damone in Vegas. Let me ask you, how might it have gone if you began your singing career, had it started a little bit earlier? Vic Damone?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. What was the end of your question about?
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, if you had begun your singing career earlier, how far do you think it could have gone? Obviously, you like to sing. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I sort of got thrown into that.
Did you?
You know, the story's in the book, but I'll tell you. But I knew a group of guys at a local watering hole that they were called the Four Scores, and they had a little act they put together. And I mean, they had a deal that they did certain things when they were up on stage performing. They were like the house band. And I wandered in there one day by accident. I stopped in, hey, I'll try this place. And one of the guys was a local radio guy from the Mount Clemens area in Detroit. And he spotted me immediately. And, he came over on one of the breaks. He says, you want to come up and do a song with us? I says, well, what makes you think I can sing? And he says, well, I figured we can cover up any mistakes you make. I says, well, thanks a lot. You know, put me in front of people in the bar. You got all those beer bottles and everything. I might get hurt up there. And he says, oh, don't worry about it. We'll cover for you. So I went up there, and I had my favorite song I liked to sing. I always sang it all the time. It was called The Wayward Wind by Kobe Grant. And she was a girl, but I liked the song. And I says, he says, what do you want to do? I says, I want to do The Wayward Wind. And he says, never heard of it. I says, oh, okay. And the piano player says, you start it and stay a cappella with it, and I'll pick up the melody, and then the guitar guy will pick it up, and don't worry, it'll fit. Well, I started singing away, and all of a sudden the guy started tinkling on the piano, and one thing led to another, and by the time I was done with that song, they knew the whole song. Everybody was playing it. And I got a little applause, and I walked off the stage. Nobody threw anything at me. I was ready to duck and dive. I didn't take a baseball helmet up there with me.
So Mickey.
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what happened was in 1968, Eddie McLean was at the Riviera Hotel playing the organ. And the Riviera, not the Riviera, but the Frontier Hotel called my agent and says, can Mickey do anything? We'd like to have him come out here for a couple of weeks. And my agent calls me and he says, hey, I got a call from the Frontier Hotel. They want you to come out for a couple of weeks. What the hell can you do? You know? I says, well, I don't want to be a stand-up comedian because I'm not that good at it, but I says, I know how to sing. And he went, what? He didn't believe me. And I says, well, why don't you come out to this little bar and listen to me? And he says, well, where's it at? And I give directions. He says, okay, I'll come out there on such and such a night because it's going to be after a ball game, you know. And he says, I'll be damned. He says, you can't sing. He says, well, I'll tell him, you know, that what you can do. And I said, well, okay. So, you know, we started practicing and put things together, you know, to get everything down pat. And there's a famous restaurant in Detroit on the river called the Rooster Tail.
Right, I remember that.
Well, they have all these big time entertainers come in. And Patty Page was there. And she blew her voice out. And they're going to have to cancel the 3 nights that she was there. My attorney, he said, well, why don't I bring Mickey Lolich in? And they went, what? You know? And he said, oh, yeah. You know, and he says, what's he going to do? He says, he'll sing. He's got an act he'll put together. And so I took the group and we went down to, you know, and filled in for Patty Page for 3 days. We were getting ready to go to Vegas. So, you know, so the night they announced I was going to be there, the best thing in the world was that all the guys were still in town. You know, a lot of guys used to live in Detroit, a lot of players. Now, practically nobody. But they all came down that night. To see me make a fool out of myself. But I got through it, and then I really got back at them because I called them all up on stage. And so, you know, I had fun singing. It's all in the book.
I have 2 more little minor things I want to wrap these things up with. Number one, obviously, you like the Daytona 500, so I know that the Daytona 500 isn't in the book, right? So do you have a fascination for auto racing?
Yeah, I got a chance to drive a car when I was on a tour of the United States doing a thing for Look magazine, the photograph session all the way across the United States. And we ended up in Daytona. And I was out at the track, and Bill France Sr. was there. And I was down in the pit area just talking to guys, drivers, and things. And Bill came over and says, you want to take a trip around the track? And I said, sure. You know, so I got in a car, and happened to be a Dodge Charger, same car, the World Series, not the same car, but. And he says, this looks like a standard everyday drive-em car. It's got the doors that open and close. Right. It's got seats in the back. He says, but underneath it's nothing but full-blown race car.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay. And so I run him down on the lower part of the track. I ran like 3 laps around the track. And he says, I want to show you something that's interesting. And I said, what's that? He says, I want you to pick up your speed next time around and take it up to 125 miles an hour and get up the center lane. And when you go into turn 3, because I want you to get up to 125, take your hands off the wheel. I said, what? Well, I figure he owns a darn racetrack. He's worth millions and billions of dollars probably. So I did exactly what he told me to do. And at that speed, the car will stay exactly in the center lane going around the track and the banking of the turns and everything.
Wow.
And I thought that was so fascinating. I became a NASCAR fan.
Well, on that note, Mickey, I'll be covering the 12 hours of Sebring over the weekend. So I wanted to make sure that I got that auto racing mentioned in. So meanwhile, Mickey, I can't thank you very much for being on the show. I'm glad we had a chance to meet, and I'll make sure that the word about your book, Joy in Tigertown, gets out there on all the media pages that we have available out there. So meanwhile, it's been very pleasure to have you on the Sports Exchange, and thanks for being gracious with your time, Mickey. It's been an absolute pleasure for all of us here on the network. Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mickey.
All right. Thank you, Mickey.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye, Mick.
Bye-bye. Well, what can I tell you? Joy in Tigertown, you can get it on Amazon. I want everybody to start to go ahead and look on the Sports Exchange and the South Florida Tribune page. One question I wanted to ask him, but we think we all knew the obvious one going in, is we all know that left-handers have a much bigger shelf life than others. Well, when you have so many things you want to talk to them about, there's certain things that you leave off the obvious. And once we got on that donut tangent, I had to let that one go as far as I could. And I think that was something that's pretty good.
That's funny.
Because a lot of times people, players, when I start looking for guests on the program, I always like to know what an absolute player does after their career is over. And Mickey told me when I was speaking to him at his place that, if he had the money he had now, he wouldn't have had to try to find ways to go ahead and get the money to have a donut shop. But you know what? In the end, Mickey Lolich made out. And you know what? I don't care what
He's
anybody
still
says.
around. He's still around.
He's around.
Living legend. Legend.
And more importantly, I will say this: for all those he does belong in the Hall of Fame. I really truly believe that he.
Well,
does
you know what?
belong in the Hall of
I'm
Fame.
telling you, I'm looking at his stats, and he does. I will go there.
But to
more
win
complete games than any other AL hurler. The leader of that was Gaylord Perry. He had more wins in the decade, AL pitching wins in there. Gaylord Perry was the only one in Major League that had more than him. He struck out more batters than Bob Gibson in Gibson's great year.
Right.
I mean, he's got more complete games than anybody.
And here's the thing I should add too: is how many more could he have gotten?
Right. And you are going to be at Sebring.
Yeah, I will be at Sebring on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This chair will be occupied by Candy Ebling.
Right.
She'll be sitting across the table with you, matching wits ends,
Right.
while I burn through a couple cell phones and have that tar around me the whole time.
I
at
hope we
Sebring.
remember to answer the phone.
Me answer the phone. We'll see if
No,
you
not
answer the phone.
Not you. I said, I hope we remember to answer.
Well,
the
you
phone.
know what? I'll be working on my tan if you don't.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, it'll be a pretty high octane. It's pretty neat about when I was talking to Mickey a while back that whatever you do, I can't talk to you about the Daytona 500.
All right. It's humor time. We've got like a minute and a half left.
Okay.
How did you walk through his glass door?
How did I walk through it? I walk in the house, okay,
Yeah.
and I see the door closed, but because I had so much energy going in there, I didn't realize that it was closed until I
hit it.
And he was asking me about this earlier today. He said, have you walked any more patio doors? Do you walk into them at home? I said, no, Mickey, the only difference between your patio door, or as we call them back in Detroit, door walls, is yours connects to a patio. My patio door goes to the backyard. But we got a kick out of it, as you get to know him.
When you told me the other day that it was a great
still,
meeting, but I walked into his glass door.
Well, you saw
and I know people who've done that. It's
But he's still laughing about it. I mean, I've heard of breaking the ice, but I wasn't looking to break the glass. I mean, that's a different story. But you know what? It was people have to understand. When I was meeting him for the first time in person, a guy I grew up with, And now I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Now instead of being a fan, I got to put my business cap on here.
Right, that's right.
And therefore, you know,
Walk
it's a
into the
different
door,
situation,
right.
but it worked out real well.
Good way to break.
And
the
I
ice.
do want to end this show up by saying special thanks to my friend Tom Gage, who's
Yes.
a longtime, former longtime sports writer, who's a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, for helping me set this up with Mickey Lolich. Tom Gage will be a future guest on our show, and he is a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame in the Writers Wing. So, Tom, if you're listening out there, thank you very much. Mickey, thanks for being on the program, and Tom and I will be in touch. So, meanwhile, I will be on the road to Sebring. You'll be here. Candy will be here. And Sam, I'm glad you were here and you had a taste of baseball history today, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
For Peter Wein, for Scott Morganroth, for
Samuel Charles
Yeah,
Kaye.
we're going to go from quick to quick on Thursday.
Right.
All right. Have a great
night, everyone.
Yeah, you bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.